Namato Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, good evening, everyone. So today is Friday, the 22nd of January 2020. This is Ajahn Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. As usual, I'm here with you all tonight. Be part of this difficult time that everyone is self-locked down. And I hope that everyone is enjoying this retreat in your own houses. As last year I emphasized quite a lot that make your home to be a monastery. So, and you temporarily, unofficially become a monk or a nun in your own houses. So using that opportunity to be a monk or a nun in your own house and having a self-retreat. Hello Yvonne, hello Manish, Emma, Margaret, and Anish, and everyone for listening and joining with us tonight. Yeah. So, and I hope everyone is enjoying this self-retreat. And if you use it as a self-retreat, then this moment become a pleasant and fruitful. And if you take it as prison, then everything falls into the negative and worries and stress and complaint. And different form of difficulties will arise and began to complain. Everything become messed up, and which is one of the reasons then again we began to complain about the virus, complain about the rules, complain about the people, goes on. Whereas if we are making or converting our home or flats or rooms to be a monastery, then it is a place for the development of a spirituality, and this is the right time, a right way, and then a right practice which will take you to the highest achievement in the form of a spiritual attainment. So today I will be talking about this highest achievement from the practice of a mindfulness meditation. And this is again on the basis of the Samyutta Nikaya on the Satipatthana Samyutta, and I've been explaining from this discourse called Ambapali. And in that particular discourse, it talks about the 4 different types of benefits of practicing of a meditation. Now let me read it for you once again. And it says, Bhikkhus, there is the one-way path for the purification of a being. This is the number 1. Number 2, for the overcoming of a sorrow and lamentation. Number 2. Number 3, for the passing away of a pain and displeasure. And number 4, for the achievement of the method, or the knowledge. And the last one is for the realization of ultimate happiness, nibbana. Sometimes we practice meditation or mindfulness meditation because we have gone through some form of difficulties in our life, whether it is a physical difficulties or whether it is mental difficulties. And among those, we can see that and after we have come and practice meditation, we have gained significant benefit of it. It doesn't matter how many hours or how many times you have practiced. If you're diligently practicing mindfulness meditation, definitely you have attained or you have experienced some form of calmness, some form of peace, and also ability to accept the reality and accept the condition that we are in. And this is for sure. And the last 2-3 days that I have been explaining that the benefit of the practice of a meditation, those are very relevant to us. Relevant to us a lot, particularly in the modern time when we are coming to practice meditation, simply to overcome our sorrow, lamentation, or pain and grief, whether it's a physical or whether it is a mental troubles that we are going through. And from the research and so many books available nowadays, and from there we can see that there are hundreds of examples that people have overcome the ability to stand up and work and live on with their lives after they have practiced some degree or some courses of the mindfulness meditation, and which is the empirical outcomes that everybody can follow and everybody can read, and which again, after our own personal practice, have also built up the faith and confidence and confirms that the practice of a mindfulness meditation does help to overcome our sufferings. And here, the last one can be a very difficult and very tricky, and that is the realization of a nibbana. Yeah? In Pali, let me find the Pali word. Pali. I will read it in Pali for you. So it says, the benefit of practice of a mindfulness meditation is ekayano ayang bhikkhave maggo sattanang visuddhiya soka paridevanang samatikkamaya dukkha domanassanang atankamaya nyayasa adhikamaya nibbanasa sachi kiriyaya yedidang chattaro satipatthana. Here, the last benefit of the practice of a mindfulness meditation says nibbanasa sachi kiriyaya. Yeah? Nibbanasa sachi kiriyaya. And here, sachi kiriyaya basically means the realization. And nibbana is the ultimate happiness. So, the practice of for mindfulness meditation, for establishment of a mindfulness meditation, which is the kayanupassana, the bodily contemplation, basically paying attention to the entire body and different aspects of the bodily contemplation, contemplating on our feelings, how we feel, whether it is a pleasant feeling or unpleasant feelings or a neutral feelings, whether it is a physical feeling or a mental feeling. So we are contemplating on that. And the third one is contemplating on the mind itself, the mental states. Which type of a mind are we having it? Whether it is angry mind, or whether it is greedy mind, whether it is a lustful mind, or whether it is free mind, free from this lust, greed and hatred mind, or whether it is the mind which completely in the path. So contemplating on that state of the mind. And then the last one is, after practicing according to this, understanding that all the phenomena, all this body and the mind are conditioned arising. It's called a sankhara. It's all conditioned at all the time. And understanding that anything that is conditioned arises is subject to change. And this is the anicca, the impermanence of this body and the mind. So that's the last part. It's called practice of contemplating on the phenomena. Now, whoever practices in accordance with this establishment of the four foundations of a mindfulness, among those 5 benefits So the last one is also will be able to attain. It's called nibbana satchikiriyaya, or the realization of nibbana, realization of the reality of this mind and the body. And here, when we talk about the nibbana, and again, if you have been following me, following my talks previously, I have mentioned so many times that there are so many topics that I always avoid to talk. Avoid to talk, and one of them is nibbana. And the few I will name it now. So next time when you are asking, then you will have a think about. Oh, Achan said that he is not going to answer, but that doesn't mean if you really want to, and I can explain from my limited knowledge. But I would not claim that I know all and will be able to satisfy you. So one of those topics are, number one is the law of karma. Number one, law of karma. And here again, if we look at the Buddha's teachings, Buddha even said himself that it is inevitable to fully comprehend the law of karma by any beings apart from someone who is fully liberated. So I am not liberated yet, so I can't define that is or something that happened due to your past karma, or that is something happened because you have done something wrong. According to Buddha's teachings, karma alone is not the cause for everything that happens. So that is the one topic that I always try to avoid. And number two is about the rebirth, and which again normally karma and rebirth are very a link. It has a great link. And the rebirth, again, the subject of the rebirth, I found very difficult to explain because it requires some form of a faith and some form of understanding and some form of acceptance of the teachings. If you don't have it, then it will be very difficult to make sense of it. So this is the second topic that I try always to avoid. And the last one, so the nibbana. So the word nibbana, this concept of the nibbana also, I found it very difficult to explain. Very difficult to explain, and very difficult to convince listeners too, because I also don't know yet fully, and I haven't attained nibbana yet. So that's why the concept of the nibbana is something is very, very difficult for me to explain, and then as a result I always try to avoid. And another one is called anatta, the concept of non-self, and which is the kind of a similar concept with the nibbana. So these are some of the topics that I always try to avoid to talk. But however, as time passed and as people began to study Buddhism and began to ask me, then I gradually, slowly try to open up my understanding on these topics and try to convince what I know. But doesn't mean I'm convincing you to believe what I am saying on those topics. You have to go and investigate by yourself. Do not believe what I say. Do not believe that what I am saying is the truth. I'm only sharing from my limited understanding of these topics, and which is not easy to explain. First, a person who knows the concept of nibbana in complete, a person who has attained it. It's like if you haven't if you haven't eaten like papaya salad, the Thai papaya salad, then you will not able to know the taste of it. But the moment after you have tested, then you know how does this test look like. But again, you can't explain to others as well. The test belongs to only for you. Like I remember, and a few years ago, and since living in Aberdeen, there is Aberdeen Angus, and I do not eat this beef meat. But somehow, one of the afternoons in the summer, we were about to go on hiking in Brema. So walking from Brema to Aviemore. And a crew took us to the Brema and then went into this little village shop, the restaurant. And then our members asked me that what would I like to eat. So everyone was talking about Aberdeen Angus. So and then I ordered Aberdeen Angus. And the taste was so good, so good. And that taste still stick with me, and I still remember that taste. But I didn't have any second. That was my first and the last. But the taste is so good. Yeah. So like that. Now I know the taste of kind of one type of a dish made of the Aberdeen Angus. So like that. Nibbana is something like that too. In order to fully understand this concept, then you have to realize it truly, not in a superficial level, not in a philosophical level. And nowadays we hear people talking about this in different aspects, different ways, and that basically from their own experience, from their own understanding. But they are not enlightened yet. So it is simply presumption, seems likely, like that. So, in a similar way, I am also explaining this concept of a nibbana here to you tonight as a part of benefit of the practice of a mindfulness meditation, which is the last and the highest achievement by practicing the mindfulness meditation. And this is the ultimate goal in Buddhism too. And in order to attain this ultimate goal, further on it says, like yesterday I mentioned in Nyayasa Adhikamaya, basically the finding the path, which is the right Eightfold Noble Path, is basically we have to practice these four foundations of mindfulness, the Satipatthana. The moment when we practice in accordance with these four foundations of a mindfulness, which is a kaya, the body, the feeling, the mind, and the contemplating on phenomena, we basically following the path, the right path, which is called Eightfold Noble Path, and that leads to the Nibbana. Yeah? So to lead to the Nibbana. But if we are not practicing in accordance with these four foundations of a mindfulness, then we are not walking on a path, and which is the Eightfold Noble Path. Then it doesn't lead to the Nibbana, the ultimate happiness. So that's why practice of a Satipatthana, or the contemplation of body, feeling, mind, and phenomena, is very, very crucial and essential in the practice, so that we fully understand the Eightfold Noble Path, not in a theoretical way, not in a philosophical way, but in a practical way. By having this practical understanding of Eightfold Noble Path, and walking on that path, then lead to the liberation, the ultimate happiness of a Nibbana. Now, question may come, what does this Nibbana mean? And as I said, I am just going to give you from what I know, my limited knowledge about it. So first, break it down into two words. Nibbana, ni means no. Ni means finishing. Okay, so bana, okay, and extinguishing. So it's like the simile was that if you light the candle, and this candle by the wind, it blows away, and then that means you still can light it. So you can light this a candle again, and then with that light it will continue. The very moment when there is no wax left and there is no this string left, then there won't be any. So you won't be able to light that candle. So similarly, nibbana is a state of the mind which is free from greed, hatred, and delusion, so-called fire. So greed, hatred, and delusion is regarded as a fire, in Buddhism. And also another way of looking at it, the nibbana is free from suffering. Free from suffering. So again, as I said, it has to be experienced and it has to be realized by our own practice. So without the thorough practice and realization, it will be very difficult to explain. And it is also the state of unconditioned state, so-called asankharika. But in a normal world that we know, we are all conditioned one way or another. And this state is unconditioned, so-called unbinding, unconditioned, unborn. So that is the state of a nibbana. And as I said, so ni is out or a no, or without, or finished, or ended. And vana is blowing away, or go beyond, or move away, or restrain, or burning out. So this end of a greed, end of a hatred, and end of a delusion is basically the state of the mind. In a positive way, it is a state of a peaceful mind, a state of a spiritual joy, and also a state where full of compassion towards oneself and then to others. And this is the ultimate goal that a person who practice the four foundations of a mindfulness will attain. And obviously, all human beings, we are a very complicated being. And that complication simply because we desire, we want, and we define. We try to make everything in accordance what I like, what I know. And we also take individually or socially, we're always facing problem one way or another. Different types of problems. The day when we are born, we also face the problem. So that's why the nibbana is basically going beyond these problems, and there won't be any problem. Is this the same as a spiritual awakening? Yes, it is a spiritual awakening. And here, spiritual awakening here basically means free from greed, hatred, and delusion. And you have completely freed yourself from bondages, bindings, and conditionings. And you have no conditions at all. Now, one last thing what we have to remember here, nibbana is not what you will attain after you die. Not like any other religion or faith beliefs. in order to attain the supreme attainments or a liberation, you have to die, and only then you will be attaining that. Whereas Buddhist or Buddha's concept of nibbana, what I understood, is not after you die, but while you are alive. So that's why there are two types of a nibbana. So one, you attain while you are alive, and then the second, the nibbana means basically you have extinguished all the fires, and there is no reborn or recoming back again. It's called anupadisesa nibbana. So upadisesa nibbana is the first, like the Buddha at the age of 35 years old, after 6 years of a practice of meditation and studies, he became the Buddha. So remember, the moment when someone attains the Buddhahood, or so-called Buddhist term called Arhat, that means that person has attained the Nibbana. But his body is still functioning, his mind is still there, but there won't be any reaction towards making further lives ahead. And the second is anupadisesa nibbana, means basically you die, your body also you die, you give up. And that is the anupadisesa nibbana. And that nibbana basically means, it's like a desert island. We may have heard, but we do not know where it is. And someone who has been there, they know, they realize, and they even come and tell us that yes, there is this desert island, and beautiful, calm, and peace. There is a spiritual joy, and it is unconditioned, like that. But there is no reborn and unconditioned state. That is the state. So that is the last and the foremost benefit of the practice of a mindfulness meditation. Now Emma is asking, is there an afterlife? Now this question is, you can think of in a few ways. One, as long as we have greed, hatred and delusion, there is afterlife. A person who hasn't got greed, hatred and delusion, then there isn't. So you can check yourself whether you have greed, hatred and delusion or not. So I end here for tonight's reflection on this topic, and this is the fifth benefit of the practice of the four foundations of mindfulness, which is the nibbana satchikiriyaya, or the realization of nibbana, the supreme happiness, which is the ultimate goal of Buddhism as well. So thank you everyone, and may you all be well and happy. May the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you. In a few moments time we are going to have evening chanting and guided meditation. You are most welcome to join with us. Until then, good night and thank you. See you shortly. Sadhu.